Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bismillahi alhamdulillahi as-salatu was-salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'een. Welcome, brothers and sisters, to Face the Truth. I am your host, Bilal Abdul Kareem. Now today, brothers and sisters, we have a serious program for you. Not that last week's show wasn't serious or next week's show is not going to be serious, but this is going to be something special, inshallah, in our line of programming. So I can say the same thing again next week. Okay, so anyway, now that we've cleared that up, what are we going to talk about here today? Today we are going to be talking about the crisis in Syria and the fight there for the liberation of the Syrian people. Now, as many of you may know, there was quite a bit of movement in Syria just a few days ago in the city of Idlib. Now, in the city of Idlib, it was liberated from the army of Bashar al-Assad, who has killed more than 300,000 people. Now, the official numbers are somewhere around 220,000. However, after the time that I spent there, which was close to 2 years' time, countless opportunities I saw that there were bodies that were piled up outside of the hospital that never made it into the hospital. And sometimes when bodies were pulled out of rubble from where missiles or barrel bombs would land on civilian homes, they went directly to the graveyards. So when I tell you that it's 300,000 people, I'm talking 300,000 plus, because 220,000 is that which was counted. And we're going to have to talk about that which was not counted. So at any rate, we can discuss semantics a bit later. However, Bashar al-Assad, there was a report which was done wherein it mentioned that 90% of the civilians are killed by regime forces. I'm going to say this again. 90% of regime forces of civilian deaths are caused by regime forces. For example, barrel bombs, and other than that, and we're going to talk more about that. Before we introduce our guest that we have here today, I filed a brief report for Face the Truth regarding the situation which took place in Syria. Now, these Syrian and non-Syrian, predominantly Syrian, fighters took this city of Idlib from the forces of Bashar al-Assad and liberated it. Now, you're going to take a look at it, and you're going to see. In addition to that, towards the end of the clip, there is one of the commanders of the Jaysh al-Fath army, which liberated the town. He was actually almost killed. So why don't you take a look at the clip and see what you think? In a significant development, last week, rebel forces forced out the army of Bashar al-Assad from the city of Idlib. Rebels already controlled most of the countryside and now control the provincial capital. However, once the city fell to rebel hands, Assad forces began shelling the city. Rebel commander Dr. Abdullah Muhisini was nearly hit by a shell, as can be seen in this clip. Sometimes we can lose sight of what a war zone actually is. And I think from the picture, the sound, you can see the things fly. This is what happens to people's homes, civilian homes. And this was a military area right there. But I want you to picture that your wife is cooking in the kitchen and your children are playing in the living room. And then all of a sudden, something like that lands on your house. This is what the Syrian people have been facing for 4 years now. But now we're going to change the tune just a little bit. We're going to talk to somebody who is with one of the primary groups that helped to liberate the Idlib area. And they are one of the first groups which were fighting in Syria long before any of the other groups came. And I'm going back to the early days of the revolution. And our guest here today is the head of External Affairs Office for the group Ahrar Asham. Ahrar Asham is responsible, along with other groups, for liberating many, many territories. I think that there's probably not a territory inside of Syria except that's liberated inside of Syria, except that Ahrar Asham had some role to play in it. And our guest here today is Abu Izzudin, and he is contacting us today, or we are reaching out to him so that we can get some perspective. Akhi, are you there? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to have you here. People all around the Ummah were really excited, actually, to hear about the liberation of Syria. Actually, people were jubilant. But before we talk about that, I want to ask you, how did this idea come up that this Jaysh al-Fath would come together, bring all of these groups that sometimes get along and sometimes don't? Where did this idea even come from?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. Actually, I think there has been a little bit of misunderstanding regarding the idea of, or the concept of Jaysh al-Fath. It's pretty much a very common military practice that the groups have, the armed groups have, before any major operation, where they form some sort of like a command room or an operations room, and they give it a significant name that has to do with either the situation in which the revolution is or the specific military operation that they will be targeting. So actually, Jaysh al-Fath is really not a group. It's the name of an operations room, a military operations room that was established just before the Battle of Idlib with the purpose of actually liberating the city. The purpose of these operation rooms normally is just to achieve the highest level of cooperation and having like a common strategy regarding the military operations.
So this has been an ongoing thing, and it just got popularized now, so it's not new.
Yeah, there was a very similar one back like a year ago called Ahrar Asham in Aleppo, which also had the same kind of purpose, you know. So it's not really a new concept, and it's not a merger or kind of like unification between the groups, but it is a very high level of coordination in terms of what needs to happen in a specific military operation.
Okay, how significant is the capturing of Idlib? I mean, people are jubilant. Are you guys jubilant? Does this represent some type of turning point in the war? What do you see?
Of course, we're jubilant and happy, and we share that sentiment with our people, you know. I mean, the liberation of Idlib is undoubtedly a very important landmark in the recent history of the revolution. And God willing, we'll try to do our best in order to make it a turning point. I really think that the liberation of Idlib has tremendous military, political, and even humanitarian kind of dimensions. On the military side, it is yet another blow for the regime and a major hit that really exposes the real weakness of the regime after many months where they try to sustain the propaganda that they're making progress on the ground. It also actually give us the opportunity and put us in a position where we can, from a military point of view, hit major military targets, regime military targets such as the Mastuma camp, and that should significantly reduce the regime's capability to target civilians in the liberated areas. From a political point of view, also it is a huge opportunity because it is an opportunity for everyone, to be honest. It's an opportunity for the opposition, you know, to show that they have the capability to run the affairs of the liberated areas in an efficient way that at least should guarantee the basic necessities for the people in terms of security and basic services. And of course, we have the ambition to improve the current situation and establish and inclusive kind of civilian governance to the city that will reflect very positively on the situation of the people there. Also, it is an opportunity for the international community. We all know that the international community had a very kind of passive or negative role in the past, in the last 4 years since the Syrian revolution started. So this liberated city gives a new chance for the international community to play a positive role. Right now, we have a city under the control of the opposition. We have a freeway from the Turkish border to the city in order to get all sort of humanitarian help. There's also a city that is going to be threatened by bombarding and massive attacks by the regime. So the question is the international community going to do its role, its job, or not? Finally, from a humanitarian point of view, I think it's a mixed thing. On one side, the liberation of Idlib means that we have hundreds of thousands of people who finally have been liberated from the oppression of the regime. And we have a lot of people who finally managed to get back to Idlib. They are the sons of Idlib who had to leave the city at the beginning of the revolution. But on the other hand, the city now is going to be an easy target for the regime. So will the international community play its role and do its job in providing the protection needed? That's the question.
Okay, now we're going to have to take a short break here, and we're going to come back with you because we've got a lot more ground to cover. We are speaking to Abu Izzudin he is the head of the External Affairs Office for Ahrar Asham. I am Bilal Abdul Kareem for Face the Truth. Please come right back with us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. This is Face the Truth. I am your host, Bilal Abdul Kareem. And on the line, I have the head of External Affairs Office for Ahrar Asham Group that has been liberating territories for the past 4 years, along with other groups in Syria from the oppressive clutches of Bashar al-Assad. Abu Izzudin, are you still there with us?
Yes, I'm there.
Okay, Abu Izzudin, we got a lot of ground to cover. Let's move right into it. Now that the city has been conquered and it's fallen into the opposition hands, is Jaysh al-Fath or the Army of Fath, are they going to stay in the city? Are they going to move out? What are your plans?
Well, I mean, as huge as the occasion is, and the liberation of Idlib, the significance of the liberation of Idlib, but we consider that this is just another step towards the complete liberation of the country, from the Iranian occupation, because we have to be clear that what we're fighting right now is no longer a regime, a Syrian regime. It's on-the-ground Iranian occupation of our country. So hopefully the Jaysh al-Fatah as an operations room will continue, and hopefully we should hear some good news soon.
Now, we've been hearing that many of the people, or I should say many of the regime supporters, now I'm not going to say regime supporters, I'm just going to say in general the people who are being captured from the front lines that you guys are facing, that these are primarily foreigners now. Is that right, or is it, or what?
Yeah, actually, the vast majority of fighters that we're either killing or capturing in the battles over the last 3 to 4 months, specifically in Aleppo and Idlib, mainly they're foreigners, different nationalities, Iranians, Lebanese, Iraqis, Yemenis. Pretty diverse kind of background, So yes, it's true.
And they actually blame you or blame the opposition for having foreign fighters in their ranks, but that's a different topic. We're going to talk about that in a second. Right now, I want to talk about Jabhat al-Nusra. Jabhat al-Nusra is the Al-Qaeda affiliate in the Syrian territories. They've been there fighting for several years, and they were a part of this Jaysh al-Fath a group that opened up this particular territory. However, this group is also on the quote-unquote terrorist list, worldwide terrorist organization. What is their standing with you, with the movement in general? What is their standing?
Um, Jabhat al-Nusra is a reality on the ground, you know, so you cannot really ignore it, and you have to deal with it in a positive sense within the wider context of the revolution, of the Syrian revolution. Nusra has been fighting the regime since day one, so in that regard, their commitment to that part of the revolution target is clear. Now, it is true that the composition of the Nusra contain foreign elements, but frankly speaking, the vast majority are Syrians. It would be very unfair to link or to compare Nusra to ISIS or the Islamic State, because they definitely operate under a different agenda, and even there are certain different ideologies between them. From our perspective, right now we are in a position where we need to defeat the occupation. So any part that helps or participates in that struggle, we will welcome in terms of cooperation on the ground when is necessary, but that doesn't mean that we share the same view or project towards the future of Syria.
Okay, I think that's pretty much clear. Now, some people have been saying that since the emergence of ISIS back in 2013, it's actually been very much a hindrance to the liberation of the country from the Assad regime, that they've impeded your progress. They've impeded the progress of the revolution in general. Do you share that view, or you don't, or what?
I think this is a very good question, you know. Frankly speaking, we believe that ISIS or the Islamic State has been the biggest catastrophe in the history of the Syrian revolution. The damage that they did to the revolution and to Islam at large, you know, is unmatched so far, you know. I mean, if we go back to the history, how they emerged and what they did exactly, you know, we can clearly see that they managed to turn the Syrian revolution, in the eyes of the world, of course, from a revolution of oppressed people against a tyrant criminal regime into a simple episode of war against terror, in which the revolution itself, unfortunately, has been lost in translation. Now, this kind of damage, along with the military damage, which basically was the deterrence of any military advance against the regime and provoking massive internal fighting amongst the groups themselves, which was unheard of before the confrontation between the Islamic State and the other different armed factions. Really, what resulted in was hijacking the name of the revolution and Islam, and even the concept of Sharia. I'm really sure, since you're living in the West, or like in a Western society, you're aware of the damage that the name of Islam has suffered since the emergence of ISIS, you know. But specifically speaking, their claim of exclusiveness in applying Sharia and being the only part that calls for it is really tremendously untrue. Sharia is an integral part, and it's in the core of the belief of any Muslim, you know. And at the same time, it's a holistic system that covers the personal, family, society, and even government affairs in a Muslim society. So, under no pretext, ISIS can claim that the call for Sharia is something that is exclusive for them in our time. Sharia has been the environment and the context under which all prominent Islamic and even human civilizations, if I want to say, flourished in the past. But unfortunately, because of their ignorance and lack of understanding of religion and fanaticism, they managed to hijack this concept and turn it into simple acts of brutality, sadism, and all in the name of Islam. So I do agree with you. I truly believe if it wasn't because of the Islamic State, right now Bashar Assad and its regime will be surrounded in Damascus and in the coast area at least. But unfortunately, we have a new reality, and we have to deal with it.
Now, our time is winding down a bit, so I still want to get in a couple of quick questions, so maybe I can throw a few
Sure.
at you rapid fire here. You've got a lot of Christians that are there in the Syrian territories. What are your plans in regards to them? Are they welcome? Are they not welcome? What is the situation there? Because some people think that Sharia is a scorched earth type policy, that you wipe out all other minorities. Is that the case? Is that what Ahrar Asham and Jaysh al-Fath is about?
I mean, this is just another consequence of the previous topic that you just mentioned. Christians have always been an integral part of the Syrian society, and they never had any sort of problems. Just a quick fact that I can give you: the percentage of Christians in Syria after the French occupation was between 20 to 25%, And the first Syrian prime minister after the occupation, the French occupation, was a Christian. So really, there isn't any kind of social issue with the Christians, and we as a majority have the responsibility to protect and ensure the welfare of the minorities, whether they're Christians or any other kind of denomination. And it always has been the case in Islam, and it always has been the case in Syria. So the persistence of this minorities issue, I think, is not true, is not founded on facts. And in our vision, Syria has a diversified kind of social and ethnic background, and it has to be protected as such.
Well, we've got just a few seconds left, but I don't want you to leave without asking you a final question. I need a quick, succinct answer from here. Are you willing to reach out to the international community or not?
It's not that we're willing. It is part of our vision of where Syria has to be as a country and what is really needed at this point in time. The situation in Syria requires a paradigm shift, and this paradigm shift in dealing with the Syrian case has to come from the international community, and we, as Syrian opposition, need to work on making that happen.
Okay, well, we're winding down. I want to thank you for your time. I know how difficult it was to set this up and everything. I think the entire Ummah would like to thank you for bringing information to us. We need to get this information from firsthand accounts instead of from the likes of CNN, Fox News, and such like that. Abu Izzudin, he is the head of the External Affairs Office for Ahrar Asham. I am Bilal Abdul Kareem. Stay with us. We will be back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. My name is Bilal Abdul Kareem, and this is Face the Truth. We just got finished being on the line, on the Skype line, with Abu Izzudin, who is the head of external affairs for the group Ahrar Asham. He is from Syria, and as you can see, as everybody knows by now, after 4 years, the difficult situation that they are facing there, and it was really, really a good opportunity that we had a clear line that he was able to talk with us and discuss with us. Now we're going to change the topic just a little bit here. We made mention, and he touched very briefly about foreign fighters in the Syrian conflict. Foreign fighters are a part of the situation there. Now, I want to make something clear that what we're going to show now is an interview that I did with a foreign fighter who had just gone back to his home European country after participating in the battles in Syria. I want everybody to understand that the reason why I am presenting this is so that people can understand the motivation and why these people are going, rather than to be watching television and getting an idea from there. Get it from a first-hand account. This brother, Ali, is going to tell you why he went to Syria. And what we're going to do is we're going to be taking phone calls after this clip. The clip is going to be about 5-6 minutes long. So that telephone number is 011-086-7700 or 7701 or 7702 or 7703. So please give us a call. We're going to be taking your phone calls. Take a look at the clip, and I really need to know what your comments are after the clip. Okay, Firstly, I'd like to start with Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
Please, why don't you tell me your name?
My name is Ali.
Okay, Ali, we understand that at one point you were fighting in Syria. However, I don't want to start there. I want to start with how you grew up. What was your childhood like?
My childhood was like I was born into a normal family, a normal Western Muslim family. I was born in Somalia, and me and my mother we traveled to Denmark because in Somalia there was a lot of fighting, and it was very hard to live in Somalia. So my father, he actually bought some tickets for us, gave us some money to start a new life in Denmark. And then after 2 years in Denmark, we went back to Somalia to go to get my father, so we can start a new life together in Denmark. Then we moved to Denmark, and we start a normal life here.
So would you say that your childhood was a happy one,
Yeah.
normal one, or what?
Yes, my childhood was a happy one, very normal, happy one. So it was a very nice childhood with a lot of brothers and sisters, and with a lot of normal people in a normal place.
How did you hear about the crisis that was in Syria? How did you hear?
I heard it through the internet. I was seeing some videos in the internet, and I saw it also in the Danish newspapers, in the Danish news, in the television, and it was there and we started to talk about it a little bit in the school, and what the solution could be for Syria.
But at one point, you decided that you wanted to go to Syria. How did you come with that decision?
I came with that decision because I saw some videos, and I saw that some Muslims in oppression. I saw videos of Muslim women get killed, and children get raped and killed. I saw a lot of bad, I saw a lot of bad stuff in the internet. Then it woke some feelings in me that I just can't sit back in Denmark, and I just can't sit back in Denmark, and my brothers and sisters in Islam are in oppression.
But you're living a good life in Denmark. You're not poor. You're eating. You have a good place to live. Why would you potentially throw that away to go to Syria?
Because it's a fight for humanity, and also because of my deen, it's a very of my Islam, is a very good thing to do, to go to help people in oppression, and that was one of the reasons I traveled to Syria.
So now, you traveled to Syria. Did you see any combat action?
Yeah, I saw a lot of combat action in Syria. A lot of fighting.
Were you afraid?
In the start, I was afraid, yes, but later on, when I saw the people around me, how they were in the battlefields, they were not scary. They were normal people, and they was just like happy. They just want to be free. So yes, so in the start, I was very scared. Yes.
Tell me, what was it like going into your first battle? What was that like?
Oh, I got a lot of, feelings. It was in the start. I was very, scared. I was very, very afraid to die in the start. But my first battle was in a good way, and I was helping the injured ones. And yes, later and the other battles, I just got a power of fighting this war for helping other peoples.
So you wanted to help other people while you were there. why didn't you maybe give money, or why didn't you organize to buy clothes? Why did you feel like going there to fight was something good for you?
Because a lot of people can give money. A lot of people can pay for food. But if all people have this mentality, who would go to fight for others and who would go to sacrifice their lives? It is not only about to give money. It's also about to sacrifice something for other peoples.
Now, were you with ISIS? Was that the group that you were with?
No, I was not with ISIS. I was with the normal Islamic fighter group.
Okay. Now, while you're there, did you see any of the other soldiers die?
Yes, I saw many soldiers die. I saw many get injured, and I saw my best friend who came from Syria. I saw him died in front of me, and I was taking his dead body to a place where there was no fighting and shooting.
How did that make you feel to see your friend die?
It was very hard to see that my friend died, but also it gave me a lot of motivation to go to fight for this for those oppression people, because he had a normal Syrian life and he wanted to sacrifice something. And he chose to sacrifice his life for other Syrians or for his family.
Okay, we're back. Let me give you this telephone number. So let me open up the phone lines now. That number is 011-086-7700 or 7701 or 7702 or 7703. Now, as you heard on the clip, it's very important, brothers and sisters, to understand something. It's very hard to watch people being killed in this fashion on a nightly basis and not respond to it. Now, once again, I'm not encouraging or discouraging anybody to go and do anything, actually. There are laws in different people's countries and such like that. And so, everybody has to understand what their personal situation is. But what we have to understand is what the motivation of these young people are. Now, we have a caller that's here, so let's go to the phone line. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Who am I speaking with? Yes, can you hear me? Okay. We may have dropped that call. Yes, are you there? Can you hear me? Okay, we're going to ask this caller if you could please call back, because I think we dropped your call, or you dropped our call, or somebody got dropped. But at any rate, we're going to be waiting for you to call back. As I was making mention, that we absolutely must understand the motivation for these people and why they go. Is the caller back? Okay. The motivation of these people to go to fight, it has nothing to do with that people want to terrorize or do other certain things. No, this is not the motivation. But it's just like you are watching from your window and you're seeing people being killed in the street. This is very difficult to watch, and then to people to say, you know what, leave those people out there. I know these are your brothers and sisters. I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, innamal mu'minuna ikhwa, and that verily the believers are brothers. But go back and finish eating your food and leave those people to their fate and just to make dua for them. That's hard. We have another caller here, so let's take it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Are you there? Yes, assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me? I'm having a little bit trouble hearing you. If you can hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. How are you?
I'm fine, are you?
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Yeah, my question is, those people who go to Syria, how did they reach there?
The people who go to Syria, how do they reach there?
Yeah.
Well, generally speaking, whoever goes there usually knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. There are very few cases, but there are cases where people would just go. But this is not really the normal thing. Usually someone knows somebody else.
So if you want to go,
can you repeat that
what
one more
about
time?
if like you want to go there, like I want to go there?
So you're asking if you wanted to go, how could you go?
Yeah. Like me, I want to go there. Can I go there? I want the way how.
What is it that you would like to do there?
Yeah.
Because there are many different roles that people play in helping the Syrian people. What would be the role that you would like to play? Yeah, there's a bit of an echo there.
It's like that boy, you see that interview you did there. I want to fight for those people who are oppressed, like that brother said.
Yes, I understand. This is a common situation that people want to go and they want to help the Syrian people in whatever capacity they possibly can. I myself am not in a position to help anyone to go because, as I said, you would need to know somebody who could actually help you to maybe achieve some of the goals that you may want to achieve. Me, myself, I'm not really in a position to do that, but it is but it is possible. There are many different roles that you can play over there. I hope that Allah makes you successful and makes the Syrian people successful. We have another call that's there. Caller, are you there? Assalamu alaikum. Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me? Okay. Are you there? Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. How are you?
I'm okay, and you, brother?
I'm very fine, alhamdulillah. Thanks for calling.
No problem. I'd just like to make a small contribution. I'd like to say that most of the groups that are fighting against the Syrian government are funded by those very same people who have formed a coalition to fight Yemen, yet they remain idle in the face of the Israeli atrocities. The Israelis have occupied Palestine for 67 years, and we've had no jihadists and no Muslims going to help the Palestinian people. They've been fighting against the Israeli enemy alone with the help of the Islamic Republic of Iran and Hezbollah, who have been giving them weapons and training, while the rest of the Muslim world have remained silent, and they've united in order to fight against Yemen, another Muslim country, as well as Syria. In my opinion, brother, this is disgusting, and it's terrible that you are actually promoting people to go to Syria to fight within a Zionist plot. Most of the groups that are fighting in Syria are funded by Saudi, Qatar, Turkey, and all these countries back the US-Saudi Zionist coalition against Yemen. Well, it is very, very clear at this moment who are the sides. There is the axis of resistance, the Iranians, Hezbollah, Al-Qassam brigades, Islamic Jihad, the Iraqi resistance, and the Syrian resistance.
All right, let me just jump in here just for a second.
We have Qatar, we have Turkey.
Give me 1 second here. Let me just jump in here because we're going to have to go to a break. But I just want to address what you did make mention of. And I appreciate you calling, and I appreciate what you're saying. Now, the first issue is this. Syria doesn't need me to encourage anyone to go. The killing that's advertised on television every night is a call enough. I myself am calling no one to go to Syria. However, I am making clear the affairs which are going on in Syria. This is the first issue. The second issue is that people like very much, because it fits into a certain type of narrative, to say that Saudi is bankrolling and Qatar is sending weapons and so on and so forth. Reality check, and I'm going to speak plainly. I spent nearly 2 years there. I didn't see one bullet come from Qatar or from Saudi Arabia. We're going to go to one more call, but just in a second here, I just want to make mention about one thing that fits into a narrative that all of these people are all fighting for the Saudis and the such like that. It's false. That's real. And we will have more guests that will be here from the resistance, and I would hope that you could give a call back and you could ask them, because I believe that that's reality. We've got another call here. Assalamu alaikum. This is our last call. We've got a few seconds. Caller, are you there?
Wa alaikum assalam. I just want to know, how should prisoners be treated in Islam in the context of a war like this?
Well, prisoners in Islam are to be treated well. They're to be given the food that you eat and the clothes, and to be treated well. They are not to be tortured. They are not to be burned, and they're not to be mistreated. This is not the Islamic way to deal with prisoners. We have a very specific code, and we're going to have to tackle that when we have a bit more time. But it's really, really important for everybody to know and to understand that the Prophet ﷺ had prisoners of war, and there's no record that he ever tortured them or burned them or did any of these other things that we're seeing. So with that in mind, we're going to have to leave it there for now. My name is Bilal Abdul Kareem for Face the Truth. Follow us on Facebook. Face the Truth on Facebook. Face the Truth. Send us a message, send us a question. If I can get it to Abu Izzudin and I can get him to answer, I will. So that caller who had an issue, send us something on Facebook and I'll see if I can get it done for you. Jazakumullahu khaira. I really appreciate you all having me here. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.